So this is like the next generation of what Pusha T was doing. But the problem is, Solo Push was trash. So before I give you this review for the Black Soprano family, I got to give you context. I got to give you the reasons why I have these opinions of the music to where it's at right now. But if you feel as though you know who the Black Soprano family and Benny the Butcher mainly is, then feel free to go ahead and skip past to this point. But let's go ahead and take it from the top, and you got to start with Benny the Butcher, because Benny the Butcher is to the industry what Young Jeezy somewhat was at the very beginning of his career. He's taking the game by storm while doing it his own way, independently to a degree. And I got to say, he's doing it rather well, not phenomenally, but he's doing a lot of good things here. Like how he is not signed to a record deal, but yet Griselda Records with all of his cousins, that's signed to Slim Shady. Now, being signed to Slim Shady, ask Slaughterhouse how that one turned out. And instead of having a record deal, he got a management deal through Roc Nation, which that's cool. He's still looking for the deal that's gonna get him partnership or whatever, but ask Big Crit how it turned out being signed to a Roc Nation management deal. But Benny the Butcher is taking this notoriety that he has and he's spreading it around to all of his people. That's what Griselda was all about, and that's what the Black Soprano family is all about as well, where he got individuals like Ricky Hyde, Heem, himself, Love Boat, Luciano, and Jonesy all together, as he's gonna do for this team the same thing that he did for Griselda. He's probably gonna build up the notoriety and get him a record deal and then try to profit off of it, so he got multiple streams of income coming from multiple different groups, and all he has to do is just continue to rap, which is cool for him. But it's very important for these individuals that's within the Black Soprano family to realize you got to be on your hustle. You got to be doing things on the level at which Benny the Butcher is doing if you're going to be relevant. Like, think about how many people remember all of the members that was within Boys in the Hood, and how many people remember Jeezy. How many people remember Big G? And if you're not making your own moves, then you will be forgotten just as quick as they are, because he's a rising star. He could definitely get a bidding war for his own music, regardless of if people like it or not. And if you're not a star, then you're merely latching onto a star. And just latching onto him, you don't have longevity. You don't have much to move. You got to make your money and you got to get on with your life. Now, personally, I'm not a huge fan of the music that Griselda and Benny the Butcher's solo act does, you dig? Because it's rather dry. Production is lackluster intentionally so that they can showcase the lyricism over top of it, instead of understanding that, you know what, these beats are my friends. Because can you tell me the difference between this project and the other Griselda and Benny Butcher, the solo projects and stuff? The key difference is they didn't shell out the money to get The Alchemist. Instead, they got a bunch of lesser known producers, not all of them, but for the vast majority, lesser known producers to simulate the same sound. But you know, in some cases like this one, I feel as though it came off as a positive, because individuals like, say, The Alchemist, when you tell him to do something specific, you tend to expect a certain quality of work. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting that quality of work. Doesn't necessarily mean that he believes in it. It's like when Pusha T went and got Timbaland for a track. You would think that a Timbo track is going to be great regardless because he's Timbaland. But no, by the way that Pusha T wanted him to do the beat with him, to strip it out and dumb it down and don't go so heavy with the beats or the keys or anything like that, he made it a super simplistic, dry and dull beat from Timbaland, just so Pusha T can dominate the track instead of making something phenomenal on every level. But in this case, it works, because these younger producers that's putting together these tracks and such, man, they honestly are doing a better job than what The Alchemist is doing with this sound. Sometimes it's the young and hungry producers that'll bring you better music than those who are already established, but they got the name that people tend to want to go out and listen to. But I will say this project is rather limited. Like, when you look at it, there's hardly any concepts to anything that they're saying. They're really just spitting on each and every track, and they just went out and got better production than what Griselda usually does get. So with that in mind, I do feel as though this project was better than the plugs that I met, the EP. But yet still, we haven't seen the best of what any of these artists that Benny the Butcher himself and everyone else that he's trying to put on, we have yet to hear the best that any of them can possibly do. Now, off of this mixtape, my favorite songs was The Quarantine, The Mob, and that Ricky and Fonz joints, man. And because it's nothing but bars here, there's nothing really to break down outside of the lyricism, that's pretty much where I will leave it. And I will say 3 songs out of 8, I do believe, total off of this project, that's not half bad. Like, literally, there's less than half that's actually pretty good on here, but yet I've come across projects that are far worse than this, so I definitely enjoyed it for what it was. But to elaborate more on this project, we got to break down the bars. Benny the Butcher and his collective of artists that he deals with consistently, they remind me of Paul Masson, the Brandy. Like, no cut, no drink, no mixed drink, no sweetener, no Sprite, no nothing. You just get the raw bottle and you take it to the head. If you're here to OD off of New York style lyricism where they're taking the old school grimy music and updating it to a point, then this project is for you, dog. But the problem with that is you ain't Hennessy though. You ain't the top shelf of lyrical individuals that can get away with lackluster production and turning it into amazing songs. You not that. You are rough around the edges, but yet you definitely hit somebody in their chest with the most potent stuff that they want if this is in fact the taste. Now, you're not smooth enough or polished enough in order to kick out the amazing product that you have the potential of doing yet. You just gotta filter your stuff out a bit. You got to go ahead and age out a little bit more, but the potential is there. But for what it is, this ain't that bad. Now, some of my favorite bars off this project came from Ricky Hyde, and you can tell he's an avid sports fan by the punchlines that he was delivering. Joints like how he lost 18 like when Manning left for the Colts, or he's flying in with the elbows like he's jumping off the ropes. Now that was my favorite one because that's Macho Man Randy Savage, but yet flying in with elbows is drug talk. Benny the Butcher came through with his standard quality that people should become used to, like how he said, I decorated my garage with horses like I'm Ralph Lauren. That was pretty slick because Ralph Lauren is the clothing brand that got horses on it, and horses is also horsepower for your cars. Now, the others aren't as involved in it as I would really like. That's why we're not seeing the true potential of anybody here, where you got guys like him who reminds me of, say, a Styles P, who speaks more on experience than actual punchline bars, but yet he got the style to actually pull it off. Like, I definitely want to hear more from these individuals, but there are solid moments throughout this entire project. Overall, this project, man, was raw and unpolished. Brief, but solid and sweet at the same time. Maybe my favorite project of anything that Benny the Butcher has laid his hands on up to this point, but yet it definitely shows that there's a lot of room for growth and leaves a lot more to be had here. That's why I'm giving this joint a 6 out of 10, one you should definitely go ahead and peep out, but yet don't overrate it yet. I think that the best is yet to come from all of these individuals if they continue to push forward.